It's that magical time of the year once again as we have our final nextfest of 2024 to cover. This is going to be part one of my favorite games of the event, starting with our very first night. So be sure to tune in for the rest of this week as we have plenty more games to cover both on stream and in these videos. And with that said, let's get started with my picks from night one. We are starting things off with Mohrta. This is the next game from the developer of Vomitorium, which was a GC Doom created kind of first-person Metroidvania. And now they're back with kind of feels like a almost Doom meets Demon Souls. You are hunting down a dangerous individual through multiple dimensions. You must use sword, gun, your trusty buzzard lantern, and a cute little doll that heals you in order to get them. Our gameplay here is going to be more of a kind of a slower-ish take off of the Doom formula. The entire game is a full conversion, of course, as all the weapons are new, enemies, and so on. The structure definitely falls in line with that of almost a Souls-like, as levels are massive, with shortcuts that you can open up to save you time. Now, from this demo, it was kind of hard to see like the full scope or any progression in terms of unlocking new weapons, upgrades, whatnot. Once you beat the opening area, you are taken to a hub that will allow you to spend ore and other resources to upgrade weapons, ammo, and so on. But at the moment, it's hard to tell kind of how that fits within the exploration. As in, this is going to be focused on hunting down multiple secrets, will we get upgrades via playing, etc. Now, it can be a little bit frustrating at the time. There aren't a lot of checkpoints in the level, and I think one kind of mistake of the game is that while it tries to have that kind of Souls-like formula of the level design, it doesn't have the same kind of life system. As in, you hit a checkpoint, everything respawns, but your progress gets preserved. In this one, when you die, it's just simply game over, back to the last checkpoint. And if you didn't save, all your progress up until that point is gone. So I do think there may need to be a little bit of balancing here and there in that respect, but the world design and kind of the combat does intrigue me. So if you're looking for a kind of challenging take on a boomer shooter style, but with a little bit more of a Souls-like edge thrown in, then give this demo a try. We now go to Aokaki, which I'm pretty sure I just butchered that name. This is a 2D action game in a kind of samurai bug-filled world. When you return to your land and are now being attacked by the shogun and their vassals, it's going to be up to you to run, jump, hack, and slash your way to saving the day. Our combat here feels like a mix of a lot of the more challenging 2D action games we've played over the years. Your character has a kind of parry move, you have your quintessential dash, the pogo bounce slash, and I'm sure you unlock many more as the game goes on. You'll go through levels looking for secrets, getting upgrades, and of course fighting oversized bosses at the very end. I like the pixel art and general design of this. My main concern when I played it is that some of the controls feel a little like stiff in places. As in, if you use the attack or certain animations, it kind of locks you from performing any other actions until that animation is done. And in a game that's very precise and challenging, that can often lead to you missing a jump, getting a hit when you don't want, etc, etc. So, if the combat and general movement can be improved just a little bit more to make it easier to perform these advanced maneuvers, this could be another very suitable and challenging 2D action game to enjoy. So, if you're in the market for some more hacking and slashing in 2D, then definitely give this demo a try. We now go to a Second Essence. This is an FPS roguelike where you are trapped in the afterlife. In order to break out, you must run and shoot and kick your way through a variety of enemies and environments. The game features a very challenging mix of push-forward combat. How this works is anytime you kill an enemy with melee or throw in your weapon, you will recover your health. And you need to do this as enemies will drop ammo or new guns, and each gun itself doesn't have a lot of ammo to it. In between the action waves, you'll be able to find shops you can spend gold to acquire perks that can aid you. I like the kind of, I guess maybe kind of like a cel-shaded or kind of like comic book style art to this game. My main problem with it is the difficulty. You have no defensive measure against range attacks, and enemies are very good at hitting you from afar. They will lock on and track very quickly in this game, and it feels like the kind of melee combat is a justification for having the increased difficulty, but it still didn't quite feel right in my opinion. I like the general gunplay and definitely like the rate of combat in this one, but at the moment again it doesn't quite feel balanced, and because of that it definitely feels more like a game for experts only, someone who really enjoys the very fast pace of an ultra kill style. But if they can balance things a little bit better and give us some really meaty improvements and challenges, this could be a well done action roguelike when it is released. So, if you don't mind a lot of challenge and a lot of jumping and kicking, then at least give this demo a try. Speaking of challenging, we go to Tearscape. The simplest way of describing this one is, what if we turn The Legend of Zelda into a Souls-like, with all the challenge and difficulty that comes with it. You are exploring a world hunting down monsters, and you must use sword as well as your kind of Estus potions in order to get through things. The flow of this one again is kind of a slower version of the original Zelda. You'll explore dungeons, collect keys, fight monsters, etc. Where the Souls-like influence comes in is that enemies will drop tears, which are your experience, and you'll need a lot of them if you want to upgrade your health, damage, vitality, and so on. This one I was not a big fan of in terms of the general flow. There is definitely some potential here, but the problem is that by making a slower Legend of Zelda, it just feels very slow to play. Like, you cannot ignore enemies in this, because you need the experience in order to upgrade your character. So, this one is definitely more of a Souls-like first, rather than an action-adventure or a Zelda-like. And I do think it needs to be balanced a little bit better in terms of kind of the pacing and the progression. Enemies can easily stun lock you in this, especially if two or more are attacking you at once. And right now, this is definitely for kind of experts only, or people looking for a very challenging game. But there's definitely something here if you're looking for kind of a different take on the Souls-like formula. And now we have another game that is certainly not for me, but I know it's going to be for a few of you watching this, and this is Cyclopean, a kind of old school CRPG. You are trapped in the dream realm of H.P. Lovecraft, and in order to get out, you must explore, find cats, and get into turn-based combat. The game feels a lot like the old Ultima style games. You'll explore the overworld in this kind of top-down format, and then go first-person for some dungeon crawling, all the while collecting the gold, resources, experience, and gear that you need to explore. The main thing about this game is that this is old school to a T. If you don't like classic CRPG design, this game is not going to be it for you. And again, as someone who did not grow up on those games, this one didn't quite work for me. But if you are a fan of old school design, looking for another take on it, then this is certainly a demo worth playing. We have another bit of classic RPG design, this time JRPG, with Splintered, a Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior inspired game. When the king is dead, and your uncles have stolen the land, it's going to be up to you to explore, collect all the necessary items you need, and bring peace back to the kingdom. The game itself follows in line with the classic Dragon Quest formula. You'll explore, leveling up will grant you new spells, which you will need to hopefully survive. The kind of unique elements of this one, from a gameplay perspective, is that all the different weapons and gear level up alongside you. And when they level up, you'll acquire a new trait/perk that you'll be able to use while you're having that weapon equipped. Now, the other unique factor of Splintered is that the game has a procedural generation mode, or a randomizer mode. When you play the randomizer, it will shuffle the overworld, where enemies are, what gear shows up in shops, and is there to provide you with more of an endless replay for a JRPG. As another twist, as you kill enemies in the field, when you kill enough in a group, you unlock a permanent talent for that run that will influence or help you in some way, shape, or form. Now, the whole limiting the talent system did feel a bit odd to me, since you can swap them on at any time. But the idea of playing a proc-gen JRPG intrigues me, and I'm curious to see just how much that impacts the actual play. Because at the end of the day, this is still a classic JRPG design. If you don't like random encounters, not quite sure where to go, and exploring very dark caves, then the random generation is not going to do anything for you. But this one definitely deserves some attention if you're looking for some old school JRPG design with a few modern twists here and there. We now go to Kilaflow. This is a super fast-paced 3D platformer that is definitely going to be for the speedrunners in the audience. You play an adorable kind of cartoon antivirus who, in order to save the computer from those nasty viruses, is going to be doing a whole lot of movement tech along the way. The kind of unique flavor of this one is that your character can switch between 3 different states by pressing different buttons. You have the kind of slow, more precise, you have your super fast, and then you have your kind of ultimate, super run mode that is there to get you through levels as speedy as possible. By combining these different modes, you'll be able to move, jump, and bounce your way in different ways across these levels. Now, this game reminds me a little bit of, Forza Popo, in that I did not get some of the movement tech. There's some advanced things about combining it for a super bounce that it was just not working for me. And I think the onboarding could be a little bit better in this respect, because it wants you to do your very first levels as fast as possible, but it also wants you to stop to get tutorial messages. And it was just not working for me. This is not going to be the 3D platformer for you if you're looking for kind of a collectathon or kind of a variety of level designs in that respect. This is going to be a speedrunner style game first and foremost. Since you can't control the camera, it also makes some of the jumping, especially some of the precise jumping, a little bit harder in spots than it needs to be. So this one is definitely going to be for, again, if you're looking for a speedrun focused game first and foremost. And if you are, then this is a very easy recommendation. But for everyone else, this may be a little too speedy for you. And we're slowing things down for some horror with Tenebris Somnia. This is a 2D style survival horror game where you play a woman who is trying to find her ex-boyfriend who has been mysteriously gone missing in their apartment building. But something creepy is going on, and you must collect items and survive this world of horror, one room at a time. I like the kind of pixel art, and the style reminds me a little bit like the old school Clock Tower games. Now, the game's kind of unique selling point is that instead of featuring cutscenes in the 2D style, it goes into live action, complete with all the gruesome monsters and disturbing visuals that come with it. The gameplay itself is your classic survival horror. You'll need to collect lots of items, figure out what they need to be combined with or MacGuffin to, and move through the game one floor at a time. we didn't get a chance to see too much of how much, I guess, like combat will be a factor. You do get a gun and a basic weapon, but the kind of minor enemies can be avoided quite easily. And I wasn't sure just how much like there will be like quote-unquote boss fights in it. The concern that I have about this one is that the live action does feel a little bit more gimmicky compared to say when we looked at the stylings of Faith with its use of rotoscoping and kind of classic design. See, because all the cutscenes are done live action, it kind of gives you that big warning light that it's time for something scary or spooky. And I hope there's kind of more interesting things done with the game or with the live action besides just being the cue to scream. So there's definitely potential here if you're looking for some classic survival horror gameplay with a live action twist. We now go to the Book of Buja, which for some reason I don't have any sound from our play of it. This is an action-adventure, another Zelda-like style game. When the king has been accused of murdering the queen, you play as a boy who can see how people are murdered, which kind of helps during a murder investigation. But to find all the clues and evidence you need, well, you're going to have to explore this world, collect upgrades, and complete dungeons one after another. The kind of unique element is you can stick like fruit onto your little spear that you can use to fling at things for puzzle solving and I think some advanced elements. We didn't get a chance to see too much of how it really is going to be, I guess, used for puzzle solving along those lines. But I did enjoy this one as kind of another classical take on the Zelda formula. You will, of course, get lots of upgrades, complete lots of quests, and I am interested to see where this one is going to lead. If you're not looking for an old school style adventure game or Zelda game, this is not going to do it for you, but I did enjoy what I was seeing, and I'm interested to see where this game is going to go. And because I can't help myself, I played a few more demos after the stream was over, starting with Widget Inc. This is an automation idle style game. You must build factories, harvest resources, turn them into more goods, which will then let you build more factories and get more goods, and build more factories, and I think you get the picture. The game splits itself into various tiers. Each tier will, of course, unlock new upgrades and new factories that will have kind of their own resource requirements and upgrades that go with them. As you get further up the tech tree, you will unlock resources that will allow you to speed things up, as well as unlocking synergy bonuses and adjacency bonuses as well. This is, while it may look like a Factorio style automation game, this is still an idle game first and foremost. And I did like what I was seeing here again as an idle fan, but it does feel more like something that we have all seen before in terms of its progression. But I still have to admit it was charming to play, and again, as someone who enjoys this style of game, there's certainly going to be a lot, and I do mean a whole lot of things to be idling, mining, and so on with it. So if you're an idle fan looking for a little machinery to go with that waiting, then give this one a try. But if you're looking for like an automation game with a lot more meat or gears to it, this one may be a little too simplistic in that regard. For our last game of night one, this is Journey to Incrementalia. Hopefully I said that right. This is another idle style game where you lead an army of the undead and more to break down the 99 walls standing between you and the fabled city. And I'm sure nothing strange or weird is going to happen along the way. This again is another idle style game where you'll need to recruit characters, get upgrades, and kind of push through these walls as quickly as possible. Now, because this is an incremental style game, there was no way I was going to see everything this game had in store in about a 40 to 30 minute play of it. But I like the kind of DOS style graphics, and I'm again interested to see where it's going to go in terms of additional elements. I'm sure there's going to be like an ascension or reset mode and whatnot. So if you're not completely tired of idling your way to victory, then I would at least give this one a check. And with that, that is going to do it for night 1, but there's still plenty more nights to go. You'll find links to the games down below. Let me know what some of your favorites are, and if you want me to check something out on the stream, come back tomorrow for part 2. And with that, I'm going to go rest and get ready for the next play. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.